Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be checking out the Anbennar mod for EU4. Before we begin, consider leaving a like and subscribing if you enjoyed this video. Only 10% of you are subscribed, so it would really mean a lot. Let's get started. So what exactly is Anbennar? So Anbennar is set in a fantasy world which sort of follows themes along the lines of Dungeons and Dragons, but through the themes and time period of EU4. And according to the Steam description, we can see how the world changes from an age of high fantasy and good versus evil to an age of political schemes, gunpowder, colonialism, and magic. So this mod brings a ton of new countries, new religions, new cultures. You can play as humans, orc, elves, halflings, and many other types of creatures. There are schools of magic. You can wander around the map and be an adventurer and eventually settle down. And we will explore everything that we can in today's video and see what this mod is all about and what makes it one of the most popular mods for EU4. So as you can see right now, we are in the subcontinents map mode, and of course this is the most broad division of all the regions in the game. We have the Western Canor and Escan subcontinents right here, where a lot of the most important nations in the game are concentrated. We have Gerudia right here and the Forbidden Lands, one of the most interesting subcontinents in my opinion. Here we have Bulwar, Rahin, and we can even see the tunnels and caves. One of the craziest things about this mod, all the way from this far zoomed out. We have some more subcontinents over here as well as right here, and this is sort of the main landmass of the mod. Of course here there are a ton of uncolonized provinces, and yes, colonization is a feature of the game. Here we can see the second large landmass, which basically consists of two continents. In the north we have North Elantir, and in the south we have South Elantir, of course, and we can see all the different subcontinents right here, with perhaps this being the most interesting feature on this side of the map. So the ruined sea subcontinent, as well as a portion of the FLI subcontinent, and we can even see that great big circle from all the way over here. Now going into this region here with the highest concentration of nations, we can go into the Imperial map mode and see the Anbennar Empire, which this mod is basically titled after. And here we can click on the Empire of Anbennar and see all the nations which are basically part of it. So the nation of Wex is the emperor, and there are 7 electors, 11 free cities, 39 princes. Of course this is modeled after the HRE system in EU4, and the reforms are also structured around that. And here are all the nations which are part of the Anbennar Empire. Like I said, Wex is the emperor, lots of tiny nations here, and basically another struggle for power such as the HRE in EU4. Going over here, and we can kind of see some of the cave and tunnel nations basically. Like right here we have the Thieving Arrow clan, and these are all basically caves, caverns, dwarven roads, systems to travel with underneath these mountains, and it's one of my favorite additions to Anbennar, like I said previously. And now in this region we have some hordes. Now basically if we click on one of them we can see that they are a horde, but what are they? They are centaurs, so half human, half animals, and those types of tribes inhabit this region right here. We have some more nations over here, like some big and powerful ones like this one right here, or the command, or this one right here. And over here we have some more tribes, which are of course less developed than the main nations over here and over here. And that's just a broad overview of the map without going into too much specifics, as going into each and every nation would be simply too long of a video. Now going into the culture map mode, we can see all the different cultures, and like I said, here are the centaurs, like I said previously. Over here we have the main culture, which is represented in the Anbennarian Empire, basically the Anbennarian culture, and of course it has its own cultures within this culture group, as well as the Hellenic culture represented here, the Lenkori culture represented on this part of this region, Kobold, Gerundian, goblins, of course, like I said, they inhabit mostly the cave systems, tunnels, caverns, and such. So if you want to play a goblin, you can definitely go ahead and do that. You will have a ton of fun. And there are so many cultures, too much to cover basically. Of course we have trolls up here, forest trolls, and the orcs inhabit this area and region right here. So basically they are one of the main adversaries to goblins, as like I said, goblins inhabit the tunnels and cave systems similarly to some orcs, like the green orcs, the gray orcs, and the black orcs. We do have halflings inhabiting this area right here, as we can see, redfoot halflings, bluefoot, and imperial imperial ones, as well as some over here. And of course we do have elves. What fantasy mod would be complete without elves? And they span pretty much across all of the main landmass right here. There aren't any elves in this part of the world, or are there? Basically this is sort of a different culture group of elves right here as well, and even more elves right here, and even more right here. Basically the entirety of these two continents are inhabited by elves, whereas over in this landmass over here we have lots of different types of creatures, like I said, like humans, trolls, orcs, elves, goblins, centaurs, and so on. And of course this mod does bring tons of new religions. Well, you probably won't be seeing any religion from EU4 that you are familiar with, and going into the religion map mode we can see it right here. So of course these white areas are uncolonized and there is no religion in them. And going into the Anbennar Empire we have the Regent Court religion, and the Regent Court gives you +1 tolerance of heretics and +2 tolerance of heathens. Now over here we have the Cobalt Dragon Cult, which is, if you're into dragons, you should definitely play as one of these nations over here, the red scales, blue scales, or the green scales. And the Cobalt Dragon Cult gives you +2 tolerance of heretics and +50% looting speed. Definitely a very strong religion. Going into the Skuldhiric Faith, this religion gives you -10% stability cost, -2% local missionary strength, and +2 tolerance of the true faith. And of course we have the Mountain Watchers, which gives you +1 attrition for enemies, +15% fort defense, and +10% movement speed. Now of course this region is basically practiced by the trolls, like I said previously, the forest trolls and the fjord trolls. The forest trolls don't have their own nation, but the fjord trolls do. The orcs over here follow the Great Dukan religion, which gives you +10% morale of armies, +25% prestige from land battles, and -2 tolerance of heretics. Definitely fitting modifiers for a creature type such as orcs, as you would want them to be military focused. And of course we have Old Dukan right here, which is sort of related to the Great Dukan religion, but it does have weaker modifiers, at least militarily. Now this religion right here, the Shazub cult, is also very powerful, and it is present not only here but over here and over here as well. And it gives you +20% raising power gain and +10% morale of armies. Another pretty strong religion if you're playing as any of these nations, like the Sea Scroge creatures right here. The New Sun cult is also a pretty major religion, giving you -2 national rest and +2 tolerance of the true faith, which is practiced by most of these nations right here. Of course the Goblin nations practice Goblinic shamanism, which gives you +2 tolerance of heathens and +10% looting speed. And as we can see, that religion spans all the way over here through all the tunnels and through all the cave systems. And of course we have the Ik Magtal religion, which the centaurs follow, and it gives you +0.25 cavalry shock, and some other minor religions right here, but they all are pretty strong. To be honest, all three of these have pretty good modifiers. You also have high philosophy over here in these nations, all of which are Raheni culture type creatures. And the high philosophy religion gives you -2 national rest and -20% stability cost modifier. Of course, these nations are part of some of the most advanced nations in this mod. And in this part of the landmass, there are many different religions. Of course, Animist and Totemist are present because these are uncolonized provinces where North and South America would be, but otherwise they aren't actually there, if you know what I'm saying. And like I said, these are all the religions that elves follow, which elves populate these two entire land masses. Now going into the trade mode map mode, there isn't specifically anything to talk about. We can basically see all the trade nodes and there's nothing to go in about each and every one of them, but one of the most important things to note is that the Dame's Head trade node is the end trade node in this game. Basically all trade from the entire world flows into this trade node right here, the Dame's Head trade node. Unlike regular EU4, which has 3 end nodes, here we only have 1 as far as I know. And of course it would be the most valuable trade node where you would steer trade from the entire world into one place. And of course it is majorly populated by the nations in the Anbennar Empire. Now going into the technology map mode, we can of course see, like I said previously, where the most advanced nations are and where the less advanced nations are. Expectedly, the nations in and around the Anbennar Empire are the most advanced, starting off at level 3, as well as these nations right here, as as well as some nations that are scattered around here, which of course aren't orcs. The orcs would be lower tech, they all are at level 2, as well as the dragon people right here and the trolls. These nations in the northern and southern cities regions are of course also advanced, starting off at level 3, and the centaurs are at level 2. And these nations right here are advanced as well. And the least advanced nations on this major landmass are at level 2, so it's not too much of a difference. It's only one level, but of course between level 2 and 3 it does make a difference. Not too much though. Here we do have some nations which are at level 1, but most of the major centers of population, like right here, and right here, they do have level 3. So you do need to consider some of these things when choosing to start as a new nation. I would recommend starting with a nation which has Tech 3. And here I have tagged into the nation of Wex. Like I said, they are the Anbennar Emperor. And we can go into the institutions interface, but we do see that the institutions, they are the same as regular EU4. And this is what the world would look like for you if you chose to play as this nation. Going into the ideas interface, some of you might be pleased to see that at least there are some familiar things about this mod. If you've never played sort of fantasy or total conversion mods, at least the idea groups are the same, so you will know what you're getting from these. You will be familiar with them and you will have an easy time picking national ideas. And you should also know that the advisors also provide the same bonuses as they provide in regular EU4, so no unknown modifiers, something you will have to learn in order to hire advisors. Going into the government reforms, on some nations you will see familiar reforms, on some nations you will see unique reforms. Here we have mostly familiar ones with some unique ones. We do start off as a feudal nobility, these are familiar, but we do have the magical elite government reforms, so this increases the chance of getting a powerful mage ruler, it gives you prestige decay, magisters, loyalty equilibrium, influence and such, and further along these would all be familiar, so none of them are unique except this one right here. And many nations do have their own unique government reforms. And as you've probably guessed right now, there are a ton of new estates. You know the clergy, you know the nobility, you know the merchant guilds, but do you know the adventurer? So this estate represents the explorers, fighters, and trailblazers of society, a widely diverse and ever-changing group. Adventurers fill in the odd and dangerous roles and tasks that everyday society won't do. And we have the magisters, basically, which represents the organized magical population of the country, like guilds, schools, and they're capable of wielding great spells and powers that any wise ruler would make use of with care. This sort of plays into the magical element that this mod provides, and I'm sure lots of you will enjoy playing around with these two new unique estates. Of course, this is only for this nation, and there are many other unique estates. Now here I have jumped into the trade goods map mode to show off a unique trade good that is present in this mod, and that is the trade good of fungi. Basically, fungi you would probably assume is present all throughout the cave systems, the caverns, and the tunnels. As you can see, a major concentration of the provinces right here, and they have a chance to spawn in all of the basically uncolonized tunnel and cave and cavern provinces all the way along here. And it is a pretty good trade good. It gives you local dev cost -10, which will help you dev in these tunnels, since the dev cost is plus 80% in the cavern terrain, which is present all along the tunnels. And there are some new terrain types as well. Not only do we have caverns, so caverns is represented by the black color right here, but we also have surface holds. Surface holds are basically like forts which have been built by dwarves near the tunnel systems. We also have a dwarven hold terrain type, which is sort of an upgraded version of the surface hold terrain type, and as the tooltip says here, you can get some crazy bonuses from this terrain, and it is one of the most powerful terrains that you can be located in. We also have the urban terrain type. It also has some excellent bonuses, very desirable provinces, and these are basically major cities. That is what this represents. So those are the 4 unique terrain types that this mod introduces, and they are all extremely cool to play around with. Some of them are very difficult to play in, and some of them are very easy, giving some very strong bonuses. If we go into the development map mode, of course we can see that the Anbennar Empire has some pretty high development in a lot of provinces, so this area is generally wealthy, as well as this area right here with some high developed provinces like this one, which has 48 development. This side of the world is of course less developed, with some slightly higher development provinces being concentrated here, over here and over here, of course, where there is a concentration of population. Now going into the ledger, we can see some of the strongest nations, at least militarily. Of course, the Command, which is this nation right here, has the largest army consisting of 44,000, followed by Laurent, which is this nation right here in sort of this brownish color, and followed by Gawed, which is this nation right here, a very large nation right on the outskirts of the Anbennar Empire. So if you do want to crumble the empire, you should pick one of these two nations, as they are very strong. In the great powers, we can see that the Command is the highest developed nation, and of course it would make sense, they did have the largest army, followed by the Denizhon Raj nation. Now you might think to yourself, okay, how is this tiny nation, which only has 3 provinces, one right here, and one right here, number 2 on the great power? Well, this nation has all of these other nations as subjects. As you can see, they have a march, Senaptias, which is a unique subject type for this mod, and Prabia. These are basically vassals and marches, as you can see, and all of these nations are their subjects. And this whole region right here basically functions similar to the daimyo system in regular EU4, where we can basically say that this nation is the shogun and all of these other nations are the daimyos, and all of them can go to war, and you can eventually go to war with the shogun to claim the Raj. So a very interesting dynamic, and I definitely do recommend checking this region out as well when you play this mod. The third nation on the great powers list is Laurent, which we already mentioned, followed by Gawed, which is right here. And on number 5 we have the Buvauri nation, which is located right here. They are a very strong nation, very powerful. Their capital does have 48 development, and I do think this is the highest developed province in the world. Next we have the Ketharata nation, located right here, followed by the Larankar nation, the first nation in this part of the world, and they are located right here. And finally, at number 8 we do have Wex, the nation, which is the emperor of the Anbennar Empire. Now, since this mod is so huge, it would honestly take maybe 5 or 6 videos to cover the entire mod in depth. So I basically went over the basics as fast as I could, such as the religions, cultures, most important regions to play in, most important nations, some new things that you might expect in this mod, such as the terrain types and trade goods, as well as the trade nodes. And if you're into fantasy and D&D type stuff, you should definitely check this mod out. And even if you're not, you should still check it out. It will give you a great experience if you want to take a small break from vanilla EU4. Of course, huge shout out to the creator Jay Bean and everyone else that has worked on this mod. This is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, total overhaul, total conversion mods for EU4, and obviously a lot of time and effort went into making this mod, so huge shout out to them. Of course, you can check out the mod for yourself. As always, the link will be in the description and you will definitely not regret it. This mod will be upgraded for 1.31, but right now you do have to roll back to 1.30.6 to play it, but it's honestly not a big deal at all. You can literally do it in less than a minute, and you should definitely check out this mod for yourself. Now, I know there's a ton of stuff that I missed, but like I said, if I went into detail for every nation, this video would be 10 hours long. Let me know in the comments below what's the next mod that I should check out. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to leave a like and subscribe. Only 10% of you are subscribed, so it really means a lot. And I will also launch channel memberships, so if you want to support the channel with more than subscribing, you can check out the join button down below and join the Discord. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with another EU4 video.